Hi everyone, I'm Zara. Today I'm going to talk about Alteryx, how we can use Alteryx and workflows to extract data from REST API and load our database or Excel or CSV. It just depends of your use case. But the main and most important step is on how we are going to get the data from an API in JSON format and use it in a structured database. So if you are familiar with Alteryx, you probably know by now that Alteryx is a tool that you can create workflows to automate your processes and basically minimize the efforts that you have to keep doing every day. So if you have worked in tech industry, you probably are familiar with REST APIs. APIs have JSON format. Basically, they have a format like this. They are nested at some cases, and the data is not structured. Because of security, many companies just give you access to the API and they expect you to get your data, create your dashboards, or report on your numbers using these. So this is not a really friendly format. Some Power BI dashboards, you can actually import the APIs, but it gets tricky, especially when you have to have headers or authentication key or tokens. So it can be very tricky. And Alteryx is a great workaround because you can schedule your workflow to get updated, to run daily or multiple times a day, weekly, monthly, however frequency that you would like. And the data will refresh, and so is your final output will be refreshed as well. So for this example, I'm just using some data from NASA that I'm pulling. I'm just like using it as a dummy data to show you how we can create the workflow. So this is Alteryx. I think you all are familiar with Alteryx by now. You can create very complicated workflows, very complex ones, or you can have like a simplified one. Today we are just going to focus on something very simple to just like pull the data from REST API and use it in, just put it in Excel format for now. So first we need to have our input in Alteryx. So I'm just going to drag the text input, and once you do that, there will be this option available for you. Here will be your header. I'm just gonna call this URL, and then in the URL I'm just gonna go to this and grab this, and we're gonna paste it. So this is our first step, and now what this does, it accepts that input. Our second step will be, we need to kind of manipulate this data, right? So we will need a developer tool to download the data. So we are gonna use this. So once you do that, you will see these options on the left side. Make sure that your field URL, which we just renamed it here, is selected. And then the second part that is important is headers. We will need to do some manipulation here. So once you come to header, we are just gonna add values. First, I'm just going to use authorization. For now, I don't need a key. This is a public data, but if you have a token, or if you have, I don't know, header or something, this is where you're gonna put your value, okay? So if your data is private, most likely it is. If you are using, for example, Qtest or Jira or I don't know, like any API link that is not public, you probably need your authentication key here. So you have to put it here, and then I'm gonna add another field that will accept this as an application JSON format. So this is it for now. What I do, I usually just run this. It is successful. You can click on these arrows to look. Okay, so it seems it's working, so we are good so far. The next thing that we will need to add is we kind of need to parse this JSON file because we got the format as JSON. So we are gonna use JSON parse, and we are going to download the data. We don't really need the URL, so we're just gonna do download data. So I'm gonna run this so you will see what happens. Once you click on this, you will see it downloads the data. Like I have these values in a structured format. It's not yet where we want it to be, but it has those columns. Let me just change this to URL and see what happens, so you have like first-hand experience. So it gave a conversion error. You see it doesn't do anything because it doesn't really understand what you need to do. So make sure you select download data. So I'm just gonna run this again for fun. So after you do this, what I usually do is you will see like it gives me two columns that I really don't need. What you can do, you can just like go to preparation and select some of your data, some of the columns that you need. So you can uncheck these two if you want. You can rename these. Instead of JSON name, you can say columns, because this is your columns and these are your values. I mean, you could do things like this if you like. It's not really necessarily. This is where you actually prepare your data because we already downloaded it, right? So you see it got rid of those extra columns. I mean, you could do these later, but I like to see how it looks before moving forward. So I usually do these steps here. So now what I'm doing, if I go back to my data, you will see I have nested JSON, right? So these are kind of nested. So if you also look at the values here, you will notice it puts one dot. So basically there are two values, two basic nested, and the values keep getting repeated, right? So I kind of want to clean that up a little bit. So I go to parse and then I select text to column. And I kind of want to split this, right? You could split it multiple times because you will see it has CME inputs dot two. So you could do it like multiple times, but for now, for this exercise, I just want to show how it is for now, so you can just do it later. So I'm gonna select the columns. Let's just say I want to parse it twice. I mean, you could do 3, but for now we are just gonna stick to 2. So you will see it added 2 extra columns. And oh, sorry, the issue is I did not select my delimiter correctly. So I'm gonna do this again. So now you will see it split this. It got rid of the first dot and voila, I just have my final value. So this can be like an index if you would like to use it that way, but this is what we have so far. So this column is actually irrelevant right now, so I could get another select. I mean, again, these are not really necessary. I'm just going to show you what I would do. Usually I just go one step at a time, and in the future, after I realize my workflow is good, I go back to optimize it, meaning I may get rid of this step and just combine them in one step. But once you first create it, I do recommend you to take your time and add as many steps as you may think it's necessary, because it's easier to debug in the future as well. So I don't really need this column. I do need the value, and this one, it's going to be my index, basically like an ID or something, and then the second one will be my column. Let's run this. Once I click here, you will see the changes. So after this step, what we can do is that we want the columns to be actually columns. We want the orientation to change. So in order to do that, we need to transform our data. So we are gonna use the crosstab functionality. I'm just gonna drag this, and the index is the column that we are transporting the column, and then this will be our value. And first, I think this should be good enough. Let's just check it out. Okay, so this is working. You will have your index, you have your AU, you have this value, and so on. So now we have a structured data format. So from here, you can select your columns again, or you can do anything that you want. Or you say, you know what, I'm good. I'm just going to output this in a file. So we're just gonna output it to a CSV. I mean, you could use any format that you would like. I'm just going to use CSV for the sake of simplicity, and I'm just gonna name it API and save. Once I run it, I will have my API data saved here. Thanks for watching. If you have any question, please feel free to comment below. I will check those and I will try to get back to you. And also, if you need more Alteryx videos, if you have issues, just comment and I will try to create on those concepts for you. So thanks again and hope it was helpful.